Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Katie. I'm a full-time sketchbook artist and today I'm going to be doing a tour of my watercolour sketchbook. So this is now completely filled and this is a Hahnemuhle watercolour book. Pop all the information on screen, but if you want a thorough review about this paper, I have got a video on my channel already, so I'll leave that linked up in the cards and down below in the description. If you've seen any of my other sketchbook tours, you'll know I generally do it in two halves. So if you want to see the first half, which brings us up to this mushroom page, that's already on my channel. Again, I'll link that in the cards and down below. But I've really enjoyed this sketchbook. I do use quite a lot of sketchbooks and I change it up depending on the media that I'm using mostly and also the size that I'd like. This one here is A5 and it's great for mixed media and wet media in particular. I love my Royal Talon sketchbook, but I can't use my watercolour in it. And watercolour is a medium that I've really been exploring and enjoying this year. This was probably the sketchbook where I first sort of got to grips with my watercolour. We're about, 6 months into my journey now of using watercolour and I'm absolutely loving it, but I'm also finding a lot of joy in using it with other mediums too. So this sketchbook will definitely have a lot of that in it, so I do use my watercolours, but there's a lot of other things in here as well. So let's get going. So this one was in the last tour, and then we start on this woodland page. So I did do a woodland theme on Patreon earlier this year, I think it was in April, and this was actually filmed as part of a tutorial where I was showing how to paint depth in woodlands and how to create this and build up these scenes. So the tutorial's over on my Patreon if you're interested for the sketch club tier and up. It's always so lovely to see other people's work from my tutorials, and yeah, I'm really happy with these. They are done with watercolour and this one's also got a bit of pan pastel just to try and create that sort of early morning mist almost. But I'm really happy with the lighting here, and this was also watercolour and both of them have got some coloured pencils on top just for some of the details. This was filmed as part of a video here on YouTube when I was doing a lot of talking. I will link that up in the cards, but that was talking about creating more art, about how we have to make time for it. I certainly do, because it doesn't fit into my routine super easily. I have to really make the time for it, otherwise I'll just do other stuff. So I talk a lot about that in that video and it's something that I'm really passionate about. And this was a really mixed media piece, so there's lots of acrylic paint down here that I kind of scraped on with a credit card, and then there's also some distress crayons, maybe some gelato. There's also a bit of the watercolour here and some Neocolor 2s and a bit of pencil as well, so quite a lot going on here. I don't love the composition. This was referenced from a book about trees, the Oxford Book of Trees, which is this one here, which I love. Really, really lovely. Lots of studies that I can do from there, as well as full scenes like this one. I do like this, but yeah, it was just one of those that I just created to play with my materials rather than have like an end result. This must have been part of the haul that I did from Japan. A lot of my spreads in my sketchbook are linked with videos, so if there's any here on YouTube, I will leave them linked up in the cards. And this was from the Japan haul when my sister went to Japan and got me some art supplies from there. So just swatching the Holbein artist watercolours and blending a few of them here. I don't love that I have an empty page in here, but sometimes that happens. Usually I do work over the spread, so I forget to sort of come back, but it's a working sketchbook. I could come back and fill this in, maybe I'd do some more swatching, but to me this sketchbook is done now. This one was using Onmar Wynn's new Pro Art Quill brushes, which they very kindly sent me. You can see one of them up here, a lovely, lovely quill brush, really nice bristles, holds a lot of water. So I just created this one quite quickly. I could definitely have done something a bit more full to try and utilise the brush more, but it's a really lovely brush. I love that I could get a fine point with it. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun with this, painting some tulips that were in my stripy vase that I brought back from Portugal. So this was drawn from life, and using some of my brighter pink watercolours, which was really fun. I finished it off with some coloured pencils, and I think that was that. Oh yeah, so we're still in May here. And then in June, our theme for Patreon was ink. So as you can see here, I did some tonal studies. This was using the Morten Hilmer live stream, which I really love. It's the Nature Live camera. I'll leave that link down below, but it's a lovely, very calming stream, and there are often badgers and foxes that come to visit. And so I drew these whilst watching them. So there were 2 badgers and then 3 little cubs that came to visit It was at night, so it was already in black and white for me, which meant I could do this tonal study quite easily. So if you do feel a little bit overwhelmed, I really recommend turning things to black and white if it is in colour. But as I said, this was in black and white because it was in night mode. So the top one is a Winsor & Newton Indian ink, then a Rowan Klingler sketch ink, and then finally an acrylic ink. And it's really interesting. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there's definitely differences here. So this one's a bit more purple toned and these ones are a bit more brown toned, a bit warmer. But it was really helpful for me, and I use a brush for these and then my dip pen. Still on ink month, and for the Patreon live stream that month we did some tonal studies, and again using some of the learnings that I took from that last one and drawing a few different references. These were from Monserrate in Portugal, so my own photos from the art retreat there. And yeah, really fun. I really don't do many tonal studies, but I feel like I should because it's a really useful study to do in our sketchbooks, and I did learn a lot. You can see here again I did swap the different inks. I'm really happy with this one. I like doing some of the details with the ink pen on top and then using my paintbrush to really try and get some of that distance. So watering the ink down a lot to try and push it backwards, and then having this really dark contrast tree in the foreground. The camera is making it look a lot darker, but there's also some scribbles on the tree for some of that texture. And then our Zoom session that month was the total opposite of doing black and white studies to using colour. So I used acrylic ink here. I did do some other ones that, yeah, they're not in this sketchbook, they're in some other ones. But I'm really happy with this one. It's really nice and loose, it feels very me. I really love using acrylic ink. If you've never used it before, I have also done a video all about it, so I'll leave that in the cards. But it's such a fun and playful medium, it's very versatile. As you can see here, I was nice and loose with it, using a lot of water, and then going on top with some coloured pencils and a little touch of Neocolour here. Really like this stripe of turquoise down here. And then just emphasising some more of the colours. So yeah, quite a quick one. This wasn't on a timer, so we do use timers during our Patreon sessions just to try and keep us loose and carefree. And yeah, I think this one is definitely that. Okay, so this is part of 2 that I did during my Artist Way series. So I'm doing the Artist Way, and as part of that I have to do some artist dates each week. This was on one of the weeks when I did a Patreon session from Emma Carlisle, so I did a replay of her mountain session. I did one in my bigger sketchbook and then this one here, again with acrylic ink, as that's the medium I was exploring with my patrons, which was a really lovely month. And if you want to watch all our replays, you can do so, but this one was on Emma's. And yeah, just a lot of fun, really switching off, just creating for me. And using some pan pastel again, just to push this back into the distance. It's very soft, but I really like it. I think it does really create that depth. And then adding in this person here, which I think helps with the scale. Not something I normally do, but it was on the reference. And yeah, just playing around with a lot of the textures, again using that turquoise Neocolour. So you can see how some things that I do then influence other choices later on. And I love that. I think that's what I love about sketchbooks, is you'll try something, work out that you love it, and then you'll see it pop up later on as well. So I really like this, and I love some of the textures here from the ink. Oh, that one took 25 minutes, so we're in June now. And then this was done as sort of like a promo for a workshop that I'm teaching. When this goes out, it will have been 3 days ago, but the replay is still available until the end of the event. So it's part of Summer Creative Retreat, which is hosted by Peggy Dean of the Pigeon Letters. And I'm teaching a lesson, it's a live workshop, and then if you don't watch this video in time, then the replay is available on the All Access Pass, which you can also buy as part of the retreat. But the workshop is totally free, so as long as you watch it beforehand, it will be free. But there are so many wonderful creators. I'm really happy to be taking part. But I love painting florals, so I'm going to be teaching how to paint loose wildflower studies, similar to this. So I'll be using my watercolours and then adding on some details on top with my coloured pencils, maybe a bit of Neocolour. But yeah, I just love creating in this way, and I really like florals, so really looking forward to teaching that class. Oh, this one's a fun one. So this was using quite a lot of purple for me, which is this Wisteria colour by Daniel Smith. And yeah, I don't use it very often, so it was nice to really play with it for this one. So this is documenting my garden in June. Loads of pinks and purples because my sweet peas were absolutely blooming. I also bought this new plant stand, so I wanted to draw that. It's really nice to document my garden in this way. It's not something I've done before, but I had a lot of fun with it. Really happy with this sweet pea illustration. So what I did here was I did the line work second. So I put down my watercolour layer and put down my shapes, and then I went in with a fountain pen. So I used this one, which you might have seen on my channel recently because I've been using it a lot. But this is a Sailor Fude De Mannen pen, and this one is 40-degree nib, so it does have a bent nib, but it just means I can be a bit more playful with my lines. And yeah, I really like it. I've also used it for the journaling here and some of the typography, but also to outline, and I really like the way that it works with watercolour, so really enjoying that lately. As part of Ink Month, I was using a lot of my ink in my fountain pens and playing around with line, and this definitely stems from that. This is another one from one of my artist date from the Artist Way vlog series. Again, using ink. This time I used acrylic ink for my base, and then when I went out to the forest, I drew on top with my dip pen and just a black ink over the top. So I didn't know necessarily what I was going to be drawing. I knew I was going to the forest, so that's why I put down this greeny, browny yellow. But it worked really nicely when I got there and saw this space with the clearing, so it wasn't necessarily planned in that way, but I do really like how it turned out. And then over here, so this one was line second and colour first. This one was line first, colour second. So I put down my lines, and then I also took my watercolour palette and filled it in on top, just using my watercolours. So really fun. I always talk about playing with the order and experimenting with our materials, which is definitely what I did here. So really nice and bright spread. Okay, another artist date. So I didn't use this that much in July, but I did take this out into the garden with me. Lots of colour here. This one was definitely a trust the process. I talk a lot more about it during that vlog, and also share the process if you want to see me create this. But this was actually using my Kuretake Gansai Tambi paints, so a little bit more opaque than traditional watercolours, and lots of mixed media as well. So there's some distress crayons and some coloured pencils and neocolours. I said at the time I wasn't sure. I really wasn't happy with it when I was creating it. I definitely had to push through a lot and really trust the process. But I'm liking it a little bit more now. I definitely find having a bit of space away from art can really help us, so that's why it's always important to keep these things and not tear them out of your sketchbook. I do like some of the areas here, so even if you really dislike something, there's always stuff you can find that you do like, so even blocking things off and trying to see it objectively, I do like some of the areas down here and the way that I've stylized the pots. It's the first time I've sort of sat out and painted in my garden, so obviously I did this spread, but I did it from photos. Whereas this one, I was sat on my patio drawing the view in front of me, and I've never done a full image like this, so I did enjoy it. It was a really lovely and peaceful thing to do, but perhaps not quite what I was expecting when I was planning it. Okay, then it was a session from July, so during July our theme has been Google Maps, so we've been having a lot of fun finding views on Google Maps and using references from there. Shared a load on Patreon, and that was our theme for our Zoom call and our live stream. This was from our Zoom call, and we were doing a mix of urban and rural scenes. So again, the urban ones are in another sketchbook, but this was obviously rural, and I found a Google Maps view from Brecon Beacons and Newton Abbot. So Wales and Devon, really loved these views. I really do like rolling hills and really green landscapes, definitely in my comfort zone, but it's nice how we kind of have a bit of both, because urban isn't, but I know for some of my patrons it is, so sometimes we swap, but it was nice to do both. I like the touch of pink up here. This was done with Tombow brush pens. There's a little bit of pan pastel in here as well. Lots of coloured pencils and a touch of Neocolor. And then, maybe I also used some acrylic marker as well, I think. Yes, this is definitely with some more acrylic marker, some more Tombow brush pens, coloured pencils, some little sheet down here which I really like. This one's a bit looser than the one above, but I think I prefer this one. I think I like the tones of greens more, but just a really fun, playful one, and I like the orientation, which works really well with Google Maps views, but just a lovely session with my patrons. So at the end of most of my sketchbooks, you'll see that I do swatches, so this was part of a video. I think I was playing around with timings with watercolour, maybe at the very beginning of my watercolour journey, seeing how things layered on top and seeing how it was affected with the water. And then over here, this was actually a test that I sent to my friend Jodie, the Frosted Blueberry, seeing how things worked on top of matte medium. So you can see the difference here, and you can definitely see the matte medium showing through with that initial brush mark. So just a little test that I sent to her. And then some more swatches back here. This might have been testing out new supplies, so probably during a haul. No idea, I really should label these things out. But that's it, that's the end of the sketchbook, so the very last page. I definitely think the front was stronger. I loved painting food, which was one of our Patreon themes, and I think that really made a difference to some of the work I created. But I'm really happy with this sketchbook. As you can see, yeah, most of the sketchbook is food in the first half, but I definitely have been very playful in this sketchbook. I really enjoyed it. Really like this sketchbook. I'm definitely thinking about buying another one, but I do have a whole stack of sketchbooks already that are looking at me very guiltily before I buy another. So I am going to test out the Fabriano sketchbook next, the Venezia sketchbook, which looks like this. So there'll be a review of that coming soon, but I hope you've enjoyed this one. I'm really enjoying watercolour, that's definitely not going to stop. And yeah, just experimenting, lots of using different media with it as well. So I'm really happy to share my journey with that. And I hope you've enjoyed seeing this sketchbook flip through too. Thank you so much for watching. Do let me know what you think down below if you've got a favourite spread or if you've used this sketchbook before and what you think of it. A big shout out to my patrons for their support. I wouldn't be able to make these YouTube videos every week without them, so thank you to them. And thank you for watching. I will see you next Sunday in my new YouTube video. See you later.